Tonight's DJNTV show is sponsored in part by Electro Voice, DJ Event Planner, ADJ, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, Newmark, and DJNTV Insiders.
Hi, this is John Young with the Disc Jockey News and Disc Jockey News TV. Thank you for joining us tonight out on Facebook and out there on YouTube. For tonight's show, we've got...
All right. Hello, everybody. According to Facebook, we are now live on Facebook, and I can hear Brian coming on, and he should be on any second.
Check.
So here he comes. I hear him, and he should be going live any second. I don't see you yet, Brian.
Okay.
People are wondering about our little bit of a rough start. Our fearless leader, John Young, has another business entity which takes him to the beautiful city of Viva Las Vegas for the hardware show. So he has he has Disc Jockey News, but he also has the Handyman show. And so he's out there talking to, I guess, hammer manufacturers and people that make nails and I don't know what else. So Brian and I are kind of left. We're like kids being left at home alone. And if you saw the movie Home Alone, you know how that ended. So if the house is trashed, John, we're sorry. So I guess they could fix it in post-op, but we're live. So I guess there is no post-op. So
it says that you've stopped my video, so I don't know if that
I've stopped it.
It says you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. So I don't know.
Let's take a look.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Mute audio, rename, make co-host. Let's see if that'll bring you on. Okay, you're co-host now, but hide non-video participants. Host.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have absolutely no idea.
That's all good, man. Oh, geez.
It's like, you know what this is like? This is like Mike and Joe's podcast. That's all. It's the same thing.
All good.
Select a camera. It's saying that I have stopped it. I don't know.
It says the host, so I don't know if you're the host. Oh, there.
Hey.
I'm there. So let me.
There we go. It's full-blown production here today, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing but the best for my good friends.
How are you?
But the best. I'm good. I have to figure out now. Okay, Disc Jockey News is live, and now we should probably. Do we click on this bad boy to see if anybody's talking to us? I don't know now. I'll be honest. Like I'm really much better just being the on-air talent, even though I have a face for radio. So that's kind of hard to say here. Anyhow, let's just roll with it and see what happens. See if anybody jumps on.
Yeah.
So that's that. You literally just ran in the door.
I did. Yep. I think it's kind of like the mantra of our podcast tonight. Anyway, the topic hustle. So
hustle.
It was true. Definitely that tonight.
Very appropriate.
Yeah. So so it's been a busy day, busy week. How about you?
Okay.
Been busy?
Very busy. Prepping for finalizing things for Marquee, trying to make stuff like that happen. Okay, so I've actually found our side thing right here, and Harold Smith has said he's given us a thumbs up, so I guess it's just he could just be excited that we're keeping him company so far. So it might be a quiet night tonight. It might be you and I talking, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's a little odd. And again, I don't mean to keep harping on comparing us to other podcasts, but I love having a live audience. I really do. I know that Mike and Joe prefer to pre-record their show and do their own thing. And
sure,
maybe if you've heard it, they obviously have to edit and cut a lot of stuff out to make it somewhat interesting. No, I'm just kidding, guys. So did you hear it today? Did you hear Mike and Joe's today?
Oh, I did. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
So 99 cents. And the podcast ain't
I
one.
did. Oh, sorry.
No worries. So for those of you who didn't see it, Mike and Joe were Joe's trying to monetize their podcast, which I don't blame them, but I guess sponsors really haven't been have been a little bit reluctant to lay over that big money.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were talking about monetizing it to see if DJs would pay 99 cents per podcast, which was roughly $52 a year. And they did a survey, and 80% of them said no, 20% of them said yes, and Joe was crushed.
Yeah,
absolutely, positively crushed.
Right.
So
right.
That was that. So I actually shot him a text today saying I would not pay 99 cents to listen to you complain about how DJs won't pay you 99 cents for your podcast. And he said, yeah, I guess I never thought about it that way. So that was it. So apparently they need to tune in to learn how to hustle. So that's what today's show is all about. So today is all about the hustle. And as we already told you, John is in Las Vegas hustling his other entity, the Handyman Show. And so we're going to talk about the hustle because Brian's constantly flying all over God's green earth, doing the hustle, making it happen. And if you guys have seen anything related to Marquis on social media, you know that I'm also constantly doing the hustle. So
that's an understatement for you.
Yeah. So, all right. Jason Henninger's in the house, which is great. So nice to be seen. So thanks for tuning in and popping in, everybody. I appreciate it. So how should we start this? Because I know my dynamics changed quite a bit. And a lot of what has worked before isn't working like it used to. I just dropped 1,000 postcards in the mail to a very specific dates demographic as well as a very specific geographic demographic. And so far it's been pretty cricketish. So, 15 years ago, my phone would have rang off the hook. Oh, Poochie's in the house.
Yeah, I'm cool. Bachelor lifing it tonight. So the wife is, she's sitting in LaGuardia, so I've got to watch this pooch. So sorry about that.
It's all good.
It's Mike the hustle, man.
Dogs in all the time,
the
right?
Hustle, right? Yikes! Yeah.
Shown, so he's going to think we're copying now because you're bringing a dog into the.
It's the sympathy card, right?
Yeah. Did you see they even took a shot at us when Joe was reluctant to talk about his ideas coming up, and Mike said, "What's going to happen? Casey and Brian's going to steal the ideas."
Yeah, exactly.
Hey guys, we know all of your ideas. Okay, you're not that interesting. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I was saying, this year specifically, and you and I talked about it a little bit on the phone the other day, that things are changing. And as you know, the wedding industry is at an all-time low. I've said it before on this show, and it's now starting to pop up more and more all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result of that, you're seeing a lot of different things happen. One of the big bridal salons here closed 2 of their locations. There's all kinds of rumors about David's Bridal financial stability. If you look at the financial lens, that they are also slated to be possibly one of the big retailers that's going to go down.
Right.
And then, there's talking with a lot of banquet halls and hotels. Everybody's admitting that the wedding industry is just down. And then in top of that, there's increased competition everywhere. And let's say in the venue world, anybody with 4 brick walls and a exposed ceiling is now calling themselves an event space. And so you've got people getting married in barns and event spaces. So your traditional banquet facility even is probably feeling the hurt of it as well. So that's that. So as it pertains to the DJ industry, what are you seeing? How are you feeling? Your audio is gone. You muted yourself?
Sorry about that. Jeez.
That's okay.
I may have to step away for a second here in a minute, but
your dog.
Yeah, I need to grab something from him. But anyway, okay. I will at least start with a concept that I did talk to a couple people that this week actually, and it seems like what you're saying is actually totally accurate that weddings are down. I mean, it seems like everybody's like, for me, our 2019 is looking fantastic, which is interesting.
That's good.
Which is good. But 2018 has been a little soft so far in the spring, and that seems to be kind of the trend nationwide, not just in our area. So it's interesting.
But here's the good part too. On the same subject is people's shopping habits have changed.
Mm-hmm.
And years ago, where it was the 6 months to a year, without question, you need to book your DJ, your photographer, like the more major players. That has shifted because I think that everybody has the Amazon mentality that you can download it, click it, order it online or what have you, and it's going to be here forever. Do you guys have Jimmy John's out in New York or out in?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so their theory, freaky fast,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it. In fact, there was a point in time where their delivery guys were being chased by police cars because they felt that the whole freaky fast concept was unsafe, and as a result of that, they kind of dialed back on the freaky fast advertising a little bit and just started dialing on the quality of their sandwiches and how efficient they are, and kind of went from that point of view.
Right.
So, but in today's, and I was telling you, I booked a wedding technically Monday, met with them on Saturday for October the 6th. And it's May. So May, was that June, July, August, September, October, 5 months away. And 10 years ago, I wouldn't have had the date available. It just is what it is. And people's shopping patterns have changed so much. And it wasn't a discounted rate either. They booked for $3,200. So I was really pleased. So it was a nice hit. And it's literally right across the street from my office at a beautiful Renaissance hotel. So I'm super stoked about the whole thing.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So secrets, what are some secrets? I got Harold who's asking us, hey, need some ideas on hustling. So what would be some things that you're doing? And while you share, I might be away for 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. Go strangle your dog.
Yeah.
It's fine. But don't get caught on camera doing it. Okay?
Right.
So as I think I shared with you, recently I watched Gary Vaynerchuk did a seminar in Australia, and a friend of mine sent it to me, and I watched it, and he talked about how differently people are shopping. And what was interesting was he had talked about how he had used about 15 years ago Google AdWords to build his parents' liquor store from $2 million to $65 million. Because he purchased AdWords when they were at an all-time low because they were first being introduced by Google. He is saying that if you're not spending at least 80% of your budget or effort on Facebook and Instagram, that you're just wasting your time and your money. And so as a result of that, I'm doing a lot more shifting to a lot more digital marketing to drive brides to my bridal shows. I'm doing a lot more with the way of Google AdWords. And I spent a very frustrating 3 hours on the phone with the Google AdWords Express department. And so far, my experience has been that Google is pretty similar in nature to Comcast when it comes to customer service, where they've got the company so departmentalized that this department won't help that department, and this department won't help that department. And I'm hoping, since, again, I was forced to ask for a manager or supervisor, that someone's going to get to the bottom of it, and hopefully things will be resolved, because there's no question Google is it's it. I mean, do you even look at anything when you're searching on the internet? Do you use any other browser but Google?
No, I mean, that's pretty much it.
So nor do I. I don't use Yahoo. I don't think AOL even exists anymore.
Bing.
But Bing. Yeah, it was Microsoft. If Microsoft can't compete,
right,
you know that there's something there.
Right.
So I think that, again, today's bride is definitely that. And we activated the Keith Christopher Entertainment Google AdWord Express yesterday. And today it was kind of interesting. They're able to click on the link on their phone and dial directly in. So when my phone rang and I said, "Good afternoon, Keith Christopher Entertainment," the first thing that came up was, "Hello, this is a phone call from the advertising you have running on Google, blah, 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 blah." And that was that. So I found it actually pretty interesting that they're identifying it. And I think they're doing it primarily for the purposes of letting you know that your advertising is working for you. So So for me, there's that. I still believe in people buy from people. Okay. Amazon is proving people a little bit differently, but the reality is that, I just made up a whole bunch of candy bags with business cards in it to go visit banquet halls. So Dina has been doing that while I've been manning the ship. In addition to that, I still believe in bridal shows. Obviously, I own a bridal show production company, and the one thing there is, again, it's face-to-face interaction. So, so that's where we're at. And you?
Yeah, I mean, I actually last week went and did some drive-bys, and I know that if you listen to Joe and Mike's podcast, they kind of swear against that.
Does anybody listen to that podcast? No.
But I don't do it to just like, hey, let's have some meetings. Like, I look at it as just a touch point. Sure, I'm going to set up some meetings as well, but sometimes it's nice just to do a drive-by just to, put a face there and just remind them that you're there. And like you said, you could bring some candy and stuff like that. Honestly, I didn't even do that. We just had a little bit of a changeover in our Florida office. And so I just wanted to at least let people know who is running that area. And so we brought our general manager with me, and we kind of made some introductions, and we used the time to actually film some venue videos. We took a little selfie stick, and we're going to, I told our guy, listen, I don't want to just have it just be a one-hit situation where we're just, shaking hands. Let's monetize our time here. So we took some videos that are literally a minute long, if that, just talking about the venue that we're going to post up on social here shortly. And the rationale behind that is, and we've had it returned for us a lot, because we actually were doing this a lot more frequently, and we're doing it before we would have our event, literally 10 minutes before we were going to start, or 30 minutes before, and just kind of do a venue walkthrough, because everybody can see the space when they come see the space, when no event is occurring. But to see it actually set up for a wedding, unless you're crashing somebody's wedding, how do you really see it? So in this case, obviously we're not set up for a wedding, but we at least showcased some of the new features that maybe one of the places actually renovated recently. So we shot a video of just some of the renovations. Quick, easy. Is the production going to blow your mind? No, but when people are searching, and we've had this happen where people are searching that venue on YouTube or, just through Google, whatever, that video is popping up because it's new current content. And all of a sudden, we're kind of top of mind when they're looking at that venue for a wedding. Oh, hey, we need some entertainment, or we need some of this or that. We're becoming top of mind. So
there's no question. I think that when you're in front of somebody, you become top of mind.
Right.
And I mean, how many times have we bumped into a friend of ours from high school, from college, or whatever, and all of a sudden you're like, God, I used to hang out with that guy all the time.
Right.
You find yourself picking up the phone and
absolutely.
And again, using the digital version of it, guys. And it was funny, Nick Hahn from Promo Only just posted in DJ Idea Share today, how many of you are using LinkedIn for business, and how are you monetizing it? A bunch of people chimed in that. And for me, I'm on LinkedIn every single day too, primarily because it also tells me Brian B., congratulate Brian B. on his new job at Embassy Suites. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, he's there. So now I have a reason to call over there and say, hey, congratulations. I heard that, I saw on LinkedIn that you switched jobs. How's it going? Oh, good.
Right.
And then again, I'll ask if he has time for breakfast or coffee or lunch or whatever, and go over and bring him some goodies and go from there. So,
well, and the other reason to kind of do drive-bys in my mind is, I don't know if I don't have any statistics to put behind it, but it sure feels like the hospitality industry in general seems to turn over a ton. So literally, we go to a venue, it's like somebody new it's like, what? I didn't know this person. So it's good, I think, to make casual drive-bys every now and then. We hit 6 places in one day. Yeah. And it's totally doable. It takes a little bit of effort, but if you strategize where you're going and make sure you're not driving all over God's creation, I think it can be very valuable for you, Right.
And a little tip for everybody is you're going to want to avoid lunchtime, because catering salespeople still have to eat just like all of us. And then number two is Mondays are not going to be a great day, or Fridays for that matter. So if you're going to do drive-by, you're going to want to look Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because a lot of people that work the weekends are given Monday off as a personal day. And then Fridays, they're getting ready to take care of their weekend just like you guys are. And
Right.
if you have Fridays available to go do drive-bys, you probably should have been at a banquet hall Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday to earn some referrals.
Right.
So to be booked that Friday night. So,
Right.
so that's
Right.
that.
Yeah, so that's one way of doing it. The other hustle idea, like you said, I just came back from an event. I was at a custom suit shop here in New York City. I actually met this guy at a conference just last week or the week before, and he had like a little event. I don't know if it definitely wasn't a grand opening. It was just some type of event that he was throwing just to invite people to his store.
Okay.
And I was like, I have to go to this because there are people there in our industry. Maybe I know them, maybe I don't. There was literally, I don't know, 20 people there when I got there, and of that, I knew 2 people. So it was like a new crop of people. Now, granted, it's New York City, so you have quite the amount of population there, so the chances of running into the same people, but still. That's great for me, and even if it was a small town, it's good to reconnect with people if you already do know them, for those kinds of things. So keeping a pulse on those kinds of events that are in your area and being active and going to them, it doesn't mean that you have to bring business cards and hand them out the whole time. It's more or less just checking in with people, seeing what they're doing, know that they want to know that you're really interested in their business and not just trying to like get a job. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I get it. So let's pretend for a minute that, and I've shared with a lot of people, November 13th, 2009, I had a falling out with my business partner and literally got kicked out of the business. Had to start over again. So let's pretend that just happened to you for whatever reason. You moved, whatever.
Yeah.
On the subject of hustle, where would you prioritize hustle as far as what you literally have nothing, not a business card, not a website, nothing. You just moved to Omaha, Nebraska. Okay.
Right.
They put you in witness protection.
Right.
And so where would you start? If you had to give advice to somebody who's going to rebrand or is moving or what have you, where would you start over?
Well, the first thing I would do is research the area. I mean, you don't want to just be, shooting blanks at just whatever, and not have a focus. So I think the best way to start with that would be, for me, Instagram, I think is a great spot because it's an easy place to search hashtags. You type in the city or city wedding, whatever it is, New York City wedding. You will be able to see the kind of events that you want to work and the kinds of people that are posting that material. Typically, it's a lot of venues and vendors that are posting that stuff. So you get an idea of who the players are to start with. And then I think a second part of that strategy would be commenting on those kinds of photos and things like that. Now, that's not going to get you in the door necessarily, but at least you're starting to become noticed. And that's, literally when I started in New York City, that's kind of how I did it. I started, just marking, making not just like, hey, great photo or whatever. Like I was literally invested in what was happening with that photo or that event so that when they did finally meet me, they're like, oh, you're the guy, you're DJ Brian B. You know what I mean?
Got it.
So that would be one. And then secondly, I would be going to some of the event venues and just finding out like, who the players are. Ask them if I think people are more willing to help than you realize. There's not, at least that's been my experience.
You know what? Here's the sad but true part, I think, with DJs. I don't think they work very hard. I mean, and gentlemen, and those of you watching that, ladies, you're working harder than most because you're watching this or listening to this in some way, shape, or form. But the reality is, I think that everybody has that old school field of dreams. If you build it, they will come kind of a mentality.
Right.
When the reality is, I think you need to not just knock on the door, you need to kick it down in the most polite, professional, positive way possible. And that's it. You know? So, just remember, like, your ego doesn't pay the bills. So, and that's where I think a lot of people really make that mistake, is that they think, well, I'm the best, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. And you know what? The reality is, you know, Michael Jordan was the best. And yet the NBA is in their finals now. And, you know, it just is what it is. And Michael Jackson was the best. But, you know, he's no longer with us. And now we've got Justin Timberlake and Bruno Mars that are totally dominating the pop world. And they're killing it. They're crushing it. So things change and things move on.
I think, too, the other important thing is to figure out what your USP is, your unique selling point for you compared to the people you are going up against, if you will.
But here's the other thing. I think you really need to be realistic in it.
Right.
Let's be honest. Like, you view you in the mirror much differently than I view you.
Right.
And I think that you need to be very honest about it because, you know, we hear all the time from DJs, I've been doing this forever. I've got 22 years experience. And I think Randy Bartlett said it once. Do you have 22 years of experience or have you been doing the same party for 22 years?
Right.
And I think that a lot of people really are doing the same party for 22 years.
Right.
Over and over again. So, and very much like Randy Bartlett, I own a company that does video too. So I see DJs all the time and I'm amazed that some of them don't have the most simple introduction to welcome people to the reception, scripted, done, end of story. You know, everything after the good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome can be customized, but you still need to start with a bang, a bomb, a fist on the table kind of a thing to command attention and get people excited about what they're there for.
Right.
You know?
Right. Agreed. I'm just going down the same trail that you've kind of started us on as far as like, if I was new, you know, another idea would be to do as many events as you can do during the week, or, you know, that would get you noticed. And those may have to promotional, and it sucks to have to do it, but you know, that's the grind of like, hey, they're seeing your skill set. You know what I mean? Like, you're looking for opportunities to get noticed and know that, hey, this is just paving the road. This isn't going to be forever. But this is a way to kind of get yourself out there in front of these folks to see you in your environment. You know what I mean?
Eventually filter out the ones that are better for you than the ones that aren't, and kind of go from there. So yeah, there's no question about that.
Yeah. I just think some people are like, I'm too good for that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't do it for free. You know, I hear so many DJs that say that, like, if I'm not getting paid, then I'm not going to do it. But like, you got to look at the opportunity. Like, what is that potentially going to bring you, and what kind of eyeballs are going to see you, and plus like goodwill too.
Costco.
Right.
That's the way I look at it, is you're giving people a sample of what you can do. And here's the thing. If you're going to do it, and I think you'll agree with this, Brian, actually do it.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Don't half-ass it.
Worse than going to a networking event and you can see that the person has totally phoned it in and they have no energy. You can tell that they're playing like a Serato playlist or a virtual DJ playlist. And, you know, even if you know the DJ, you go over and you say hello, and, you know, the first thing they say is, oh, yeah, I got stuck doing this again.
Right.
You got stuck doing it? Like,
right.
You know?
No. Give it your best, you know, because that's when it may be your only opportunity to be in front of that person. Right. So like, you don't know the next time you're going to have that chance. So this could be, you don't know what kind of eyeballs are watching.
If you're not good, it might be the only time you're in front of that person.
Right. Plus, I don't know. I feel like those are opportunities for you to put up or shut up. You know what I mean? Like, people can sell themselves so well. They can, doctor photos with Photoshop. They can make a quick edit that makes it look like there's a million people at their event. But when you actually see the talent, you know, in person, you really can tell if the person has what it takes or not, you know?
Oh, well, it's really funny you bring that up, because do you remember the show, My Big Fat Fabulous Wedding on VH1?
I never saw it.
It was like it came out about the time of my Super Sweet 16.
Oh, okay.
On VH1, when they were still playing music videos. So it's got to go back about 10 years at least.
Right.
And I did a wedding in Chicago that was filmed for that. And I was just DJing the band breaks, and I was the MC, and they had a big orchestra, very wealthy couple, super nice people. but you could tell this whole thing was being produced for TV, and the guests could feel it. And so rather than just let loose and get crazy, you had a whole bunch of small groups, and they're just, dancing very conservatively because they don't want to look like the goofballs that are edited into, being stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So what ends up happening is, all I kept thinking was, oh my God, this wedding is just like, this band is just totally not like, there's just no one on the dance floor.
Right.
VH1 had filmed it and tightened it so much so they did really tight shots of like the bride with a half a dozen people this close.
Right.
That it looked like New Year's Eve in Times Square. It looked like the craziest party you've ever seen. So you're right. When it comes to video, like, you can doctor anything to make it look good. And
right.
They certainly made it look like this was the party of the century. And when I watched the episode, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, I mean, I laughed with the event planner and her husband, and I'm like, do you remember this party being this much fun? And they're like, no. And they spent like $1 million on it too. So I was
yikes.
Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Right. And it doesn't take much nowadays with technology as advanced as it is to edit and doctor those things yourself. Whereas before you had to pay somebody a lot of money to do that.
Right.
It's become a lot easier. So yeah. I mean, those are a couple nuggets there, I think.
Right. Hey, we got to say hello to Mike Walter, who just joined in, just because, he can't stand when we say hello to people.
Yeah.
So
is he on Facebook? Mike? Is he on Facebook, or how are you telling?
I just saw Facebook. Mike Walter joined. Jody Harris joined.
I can't see any of that
Lewis
stuff.
Is on the house. Rob Wilson's on the house. Sean's been on the house for a while here. Sean Payson. Oh, John Young's even watching. That's good. Decade Blair is in the house. We have quite a few. So I'm a happy guy. Paul Siegel. Ron Helmick, who was one of your hosts over at Midwest DJs Live last week. So,
okay. Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. Must be a very slow week in everyone's life.
And I think another thing to think about too is, especially going down that path of, if you move to a new market and you're starting up from scratch, is utilize the event that you do get. Like, let's say you get 1 or 2 events to the fullest, like really like target. I'm developing a talk about how to utilize these events more than just from the planner standpoint or the vendors or whatever, but actually like target people that are attending this wedding who are engaged or who are influencers, because those are, I think, are like next to a returning client. They're like your next best advocates because they've seen your work. Like they've seen it in the environment. And I think it's a spot where a lot of people, they don't pay up much attention to that. They're so involved in the event themselves, which, I mean, obviously that takes precedent, but I think you could utilize those people who are sitting in those chairs to your advantage as far as marketing goes. You know
what's interesting about that comment though? And listen, there's no ego here. I think I'm a very good DJ.
Oh yeah.
I'm the best DJ. It's something like that. But have you ever noticed, like, and then growing up, my parents watched figure skating and they watched gymnastics. They were just enamored by it. My sister was in gymnastics all through almost all of high school, and it was their thing. But you ever notice how smooth and graceful like a really good figure skater is, and how easy they make it look?
Right.
And then you go to your local skating rink for like some sort of a youth group party when you were kids, and you go to put on those skates, or you're playing hockey with your boys, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, this is impossible. Where it comes to us is being a good DJ. I still get nervous, but I'm not nearly as nervous as I was 10, 15 years ago. And I think that with experience, we've had everything happen to us, from bad cables to computers dying to CD skipping to all of it, that the easier and the smoother we make it look, to a degree, people just think it's easy. Just like I thought ice skating was easy. And that's kind of sometimes the hard part about, being good at what you do, is it seems so easy. And that's where I'm sure you had it happen to be like, this is a good crowd, huh? You ever seen a crowd this much fun? And to a degree, there are times where, I mean, there's no question that it is the crowd, and any DJ could have rocked it. But you also know how you're driving the crowd, and this person is giving the crowd a little bit too much credit. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, totally.
So,
yeah. I've found it a few times lately where, like, if I'm not DJing every, let's say 3 weeks, like I can feel it. Like I get more nervous because I'm like, gosh, I've been out of it for about a month and it really is noticeable. So, I mean, but I think there's a good nervous energy to always have, I think, as far as that goes. And, but I still believe that being able to have the experience to not only stay in the moment, but also be cognizant of those people that are out there that are your potential customers or future customers is an important thing. And if you can figure out a way to somehow, leverage that, that's better than any cold call or any, like, because they're believers. They've seen what you've been able to do in that environment.
Again, I'll give credit where credit's due. Mike Walter always said, like, the best marketing is people that have seen you perform. And, when you're at a job and there's 140 people there and you're rocking it, there's no question about it, which is what always boggles my mind. I'll ask you the most simple question in the world. Where do you keep your business cards when you disc jockey?
Oh, in my pocket.
Okay. See, I think that's a big mistake. And I have them very discreetly on the table. Think of them, to me, I think of them like breath mints. Okay. Right. If you have to ask somebody for a breath mint, it's a little bit weirder. But if you have a bowl of breath mints out on your desk, for example,
right,
people will grab one and that's that. It's not like I have them spread out all over the table or whatever.
Right.
But I have a stack neatly. Somebody comes up and asks for anything. Somebody says they're doing a great job. They don't even have to ask you for a card. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. Just to, the best is when they go, can I take a couple of these? I prefer that, actually, and pass them out to your friends. And that's where, when I'm out doing floral runs, or if I'm, helping somebody out with whatever, and it always amazes me when I go to say hello to the DJ and introduce myself as the president of the Chicago chapter, that they don't have cards just politely, immediately accessible. Right. And again, I'm not looking at being cheesy or hokey and hanging banners or that, but having a stack of 15 cards.
Well, I'll tell you why I do it the way I do it. 2 reasons. Okay. One is I'm typically now using this DJ furniture where I don't have anything on the table. So it's like it's built in, it's recessed, it looks really good. The last thing I want is anything on it, including cards. Second reason is because I am usually out and about in the crowd mingling and talking to people, and I want to have them available. I don't want to direct them back to my DJ table because that's where they're at.
Okay, so you can't have both?
Well, you could, but I just think the way that the furniture looks, like, I'm just a real stickler about it being clean, and not having anything on it, including my microphone. Like I have like little, it's like a shelving that you would put the stuff inside. So it's like super clean on top. And I don't know. It feels very banner-ish to me to have like a stack of cards, like almost like I'm like, I don't know. It just feels very, and I guess it's 2 ways of looking at it. For me, it feels like
if you have a 1-inch thick stack of cards out there, I 100% agree with you. However, if you just have like 10 cards and it's really convenient for someone to grab one,
right?
I think that, again, it's like anything. It's, I just think that there's a way of displaying everything.
Yeah.
Looks the right way.
Right.
I'm not even talking about having a business card holder.
Right.
I see some DJs do that. Remember back in the cassette tape days, you could flip the cassette tape case backward and it became your business card holder. Did you ever see anyone do that?
Yeah. Well, and not to go down the tangent, but, I think I've seen so many bad business cards. The look of them are just sometimes make you just go, what the heck? So I think that's another thing to think of too.
I was collecting cards at the Photo Booth Expo for Marquee and to put people on mailing lists, and it was really, really bad.
Right.
Like I was horrified by what some of these looked like, and the funny part is you hear the excuses when people go like, please, I just want to get rid of them. I go, good. Then throw them all in the garbage, because if you're embarrassed to give me one of your cards,
right,
you have to be just as embarrassed giving it to a customer. And again, it's all about the impression. It's all about,
absolutely.
And I don't know about you, I have cards on me 24/7.
Oh, I absolutely. Yep.
That was the other thing that boggles my mind, especially at a business conference like Mobile Beat or DJ Times or Marquee or Wedding NBA would really be the worst not having one there. But it just boggles my mind how people actually go out without them and then they act all embarrassed. And truthfully, they should be totally embarrassed. That's like marketing 101.
Yeah, but I heard what's his name, Jarrett Geron. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he's with the Films Like Jay. I don't know if you've seen him much on social media.
Yeah, I have actually.
So he's doing a lot of fresh stuff out there, but he made a good point because, I mean, he's kind of in that millennial group of people, and he's like, man, I never carry business cards because if people give me a business card, I never like look at it. I never put them in my phone. I never do anything. He says, I follow them on Instagram. That's how I initially like stay on connected to them. So while you could be correct with a customer, I think the future is going to be more social driven and less business card. I mean, when's the last time maybe you, because of your doing marquee and stuff like that, but most people, like, I don't really input people into a database anymore, hardly at all.
I totally do.
You know what I mean?
And then I connect with them on LinkedIn. Again, my Facebook is my Facebook. I'm going to say, I think I've got like 2,200 friends on Facebook, and I'm going to guess that 700 or 800 of them are DJs.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are business acquaintances, but I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. I really believe that there's the right place and time for everything. LinkedIn, I wouldn't dream of posting anything social as far as like anything in the media, anything going on.
Right.
World that's controversial.
What's interesting is like at events itself, I get more feedback from people on Instagram who are, doing a story and they're taking video or whatever. They're tagging me in it and they're like, this guy's crushing it. This guy's, doing an amazing job. Then I do actually people asking me for a business card at the end of the night. And so I'm following up that way through that medium than I am like someone asking me for a business card. Like, it's almost like it's kind of become a little old school, it's still around, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely phasing out. I think more so than at least with the young bridesmaids and people getting married. It's more like they're connecting me with me that way than they are like calling me from a business card. At least that's the way I'm finding it.
So we've got some feedback on this. William Buttry, who I don't know, William, I don't know if you do. He said, I've not given a business card in a year. They all Facebook me.
Yeah. See?
Okay. That's fine if you're a certain age demographic or what have you. But again, if I'm doing a high school, I certainly don't want to friend anybody under 18. And
well, hopefully you're not doing it if you're, over 50.
I'm just saying, I just, what do you call it? I think, again, time and place. And I'm not, listen, 2 + 2 = 4, 1 + 1 + 1 = 4, 3 + 1 = 4. There's a lot of ways to get there. So I'm not saying I'm right or William Butcher just said he's 45. I'm 48. So, we both are children of the 80s. So, that's that. But again, different strokes for different folks. I totally get it. Again, I just think right place, right time, and that's all there is to it. And that's that. Now, Donnie Lewis says that he has a social media card, which, you know what, Donnie? If you could do me a huge favor, snap a picture of what your card actually looks like, whatever it might be. And then if you can post it in the comments, then everybody can check it out.
What's a social media card? I don't even know what that is.
Well, from the looks of it, it makes it sound like, he goes, I have social media cards shaped as the logos with my @ centered on the Instagram, Facebook logos or what have you. So what I'm guessing is like his Facebook card looks like the Facebook logo, and then he's got his company.
So it's still a business card.
But I guess it's themed more to drive people. That's why I asked him snap a picture of it if he would, and go ahead and post it in here so that we can all go, oh, that's great, or oh, that's stupid. No, I'm just kidding. But people will be thinking it one way or another.
So another hustle technique is to look for free opportunities to market yourself. One of the things I'm doing this next week, you know Chris Atwood, he's out of New Jersey.
Yeah, sure. He's talking about how you're going to be on his podcast.
Yeah. So I just saw an opportunity. Now, am I doing it just to get marketed? No, but that's definitely a sub, benefit of it for sure.
Sure. Well, it's all content. The world's
right.
filled with content.
Right. So if it can be a blog, if it can be a way that you can do something for Joe Bunn's done a couple of things for the TV networks, the local TV, where he's like, hey, let me
also
right.
a ton of it in Salt Lake. Yeah.
Right.
He's killing it that way.
Absolutely. So if you can look for ways to do that, and provide value, that's just another way to get out there. I just recently, actually today, they announced that I'm one of 25 ambassadors for the Knot.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Guy.
Yeah.
You're
so
like Jason Janai of the Knot now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just
kidding. He's got wedding wire on lock. So I gotta pick my spots. So anyway, but because of that, that's
the ambassador for the Yellow Pages.
Hey, there's a place and time for everything, man.
I go with my pre-mixed cassette tapes and hit play.
Right. But that opportunity is a marketing opportunity to be in front of people and be noticed and try to drive business. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You're giving of your time, but you're hoping for a return anyway. So just another hustling technique that I think some people just go, oh, I'm not going to do this because I don't see the value. There's more value than just the actual being on a podcast for them. You're looking at it for yourself as well.
Well, and it's funny because when you had to go chase your dog off, Gary Vaynerchuk, the video I was watching, if you want to try and search it, it's Gary Vaynerchuk, and I think it's Melbourne, Australia is where he was speaking.
Right.
And the thing that was interesting was he was saying, if you're not spending 80% of your budget or your time on Facebook or Instagram, you're wasting your time and your money. So again, while some of it is obvious, like, okay, we can do targeted ads. And again, if you're in the DJ community, I've probably shown up in your news feed at least once or twice, either through my efforts or through my advertising.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people telling me constantly, like, dude, you are crushing it with the advertising. It's always in my news feed. So in that world, I'm sharing everything about our show in all of the DJ news feeds, which doesn't necessarily lend itself so much in the bridal world, let's say, or the wedding world. But in your case, like, I know that the Knot, I believe in almost every market, has a Knot business to business, Knot business to business, whatever. I'm sure that in your market or the multiple markets you serve, that there are industry related things where you can start dropping, like the fact that you are one of the 25 people, and I know you made your nice little JPEG and posted it on your personal page, but
right.
I'm sure you could spread that around at no charge to you, but it's just a matter of effort.
Right.
So people know it, and then drop it on LinkedIn and drop it everywhere else. And then,
right.
And then again, you can target market it as well. And I really believe it. I mean, there's no question, even newspapers are dying. I mean, I go to a diner pretty much 2-3 times a week for breakfast. And I used to read the paper, and it got to the point where as I'm flipping through the paper, I'm like, I read this last night before I went to bed. I saw this morning when I woke up and turned on like 85 to 90% of the paper, I already knew what was in it.
Right.
So it was like the paper was like 2 days old in my mind because of the way social media is. And there's that. Let me ask you another question then on the subject of digital. Do you blog?
I do. Yeah.
Do you? Very good.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to be doing it more, but I do.
Right.
Today, in fact, with this announcement, I was like, I'm going to utilize this because if someone's searching, wedding professional or anything having to do with the Knot, I want to be at least coming up as fresh content for today. So, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a huge misnomer that people have, because it may not be for people to read for information anymore, but for SEO, it's huge. You know, just that aspect alone to be one of the first things that pop up on Google as you're searching, that you cannot discount the SEO, the free SEO you can get from doing blogging. So if you don't have a blog on your website, or an opportunity to do that,
well, and here's the other thing that people, I think, sometimes misunderstand the word blog. Okay. You know, if you were a newspaper or if you were any type of a media outlet or what have you, you wouldn't necessarily call it a blog. You would just have different sections to which you post things in, and it's just fresh content. And let's face it, every time you search for something, you know, I had a power steering issue in our cube truck today, and we thought and hoped initially that it was just going to be we had to put in like a quart of power steering fluid and that was it. So we went to the auto parts store, gave them the make and model. They told us it was the same thing as the transmission fluid. And I found myself searching specifically for the make and model of it to make sure that we were looking at the right dipstick and that everything was there. And again, this wasn't a Suzu's website we were on. It was all kinds of different, all kinds of different mechanic sites, YouTube things, all kinds of stuff. And the point being is it's just content. So if you can get yourself out of the mindset where it's like, oh God, I got to figure out what to write about. That's not it. I mean, an example is my business partner in my flower shop. We were looking at pictures from a wedding that we had done last year. And I think I told you this, all of the groomsmen, they put their boutonnieres on the wrong side. They put them, instead of it being on the left side over your heart, they were on the opposite side, except for the groom. I noticed it. It looked stupid. And I'm sure if they put it on the wrong side, they probably didn't pin it very well either. So I wrote a blog about it. As simple as, how do I post, how do I put on a boutonniere? Simple, easy, useful. And here's the best part. Like, I don't know who's going to see it or not see it, but the reality is that people will read it. It'll be found. So there's no question about it. So you don't have to go digging. It's like comedians with jokes. Like, what's right in front of you every single day is what you can write about. You know, and that's all there is to it. Right. So, and then you just have to choose, like, what do you want to be? Do you want to be educational? Do you want to be controversial? I
know a few people who do that. I know a few controversial people who take that angle. Nothing wrong with it.
No, it's just, you have to be aware. And if you read my article this month in Disc Jockey News on Think Before You Facebook,
there's a little bit of irony there, by the way.
Well, here's the thing. I'm very conscious about what I put on Facebook.
Right.
And even though you may not agree with it, and that's okay. Like, we've all gone to dinner and I've looked at people who've ordered stuff and go, why would they order that?
Right.
And it's just different. Some people like chocolate, some people like vanilla. I get it. And my biggest thing there is, like, I'm still careful. And even, Nick Hahn was saying that he thinks my political views are very, they're not in your face. They're acceptable, even if you have a difference of opinion. Right. Whereas some people are all like, Donald Trump is God or Donald Trump is the devil. And, I'm kind of what I think is more common sense. But again, that's how I choose to. And then there are other people that go, I would never talk ever in a million years about that or anything else controversial. And I like opening up the conversation to people. Like, I mean, if you saw, here we go. Chris Atwood just wrote, I agree. Haha. Keith Kikoris and Mike Walter are the kings of stirring up DJs and controversy. So that's not true, Chris. Don't be upset because you're wrong all the time. No, but the interesting thing about it is, like on the subject, controversial talk is right now people are going before the Supreme Court regarding the gay couple that the bakery refused to bake the cake for. And so now, as a result of that, the Supreme Court's going to rule it. And right now, there's a lot of people in the special event industry that are talking about, how do people feel about it? And so it'll be very interesting to see where people fall on that subject and kind of go from there. And we'll see. So, so that's all. But,
well, somebody here mentioned something good and saying that pick a couple things and do it consistently. And I would definitely agree with that, because what happens, totally. I mean, I do feel like you should have a couple things for sure, because you want to have a few different, seeds that you're spreading out that you are allowing to flourish, but doing it consistently is important. If you're going to do Instagram, do Instagram. Don't just do it for one day and then 6 months later, like, oh yeah, let me put another post up there. Like, you got to be consistent with whatever method you're picking. Right.
Same thing with drive-bys at the banquet hall. Same thing with bridal shows, whatever it is. Whatever you're going to do, be committed to it and do it really, really well and do it 100%.
And some of those things you can do seasonally, right? Like, you could pick one method and just do it. Say, hey, I'm going to hit this for 6 months and see what happens. And now I'm going to change my strategy and go in a different direction, and try something else. But I think those are the keys there, is to try to do that. If, it's funny, like everything we've talked about, none of it has been like anything paid, like no paid advertising, no paid this or that. Like, it's all been things that are literally effort driven and not money driven necessarily. Right.
But I still, to a degree, I mean, there's still, if you're dropping off goodies at a banquet hall or, and
to a
personally,
degree.
I don't see anything wrong with, if you've written a great blog and you think that it's got a lot of teeth. I just wrote a blog for Keith Christopher about tips for giving a toast, and it was inspired by yet another wedding where it was painful to sit through the toast, and I'm just like, how is this difficult? And I keep looking at that. I've been looking at toast for 25 years. They're looking at it as that. And then there was, I don't know if you saw, there was a videographer that put out a 50-second video
about the toast.
Yeah, where it was, hi, for those of you that don't know me.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hi, for those of you that don't know me. But it's so true. And I mean, and again, the band leader, the DJ, the MC introduced that person. Put your hands together for your best man, the brother of the bride, Mr. Brian CC. But in spite of that, Brian, and probably it's part of it's just being nervous, trying to get your feet wet or what have you. But I
mean, if we did that for DJs with ladies and gentlemen, I mean, it would be the same kind of thing,
Yeah, to a degree. But, what's funny is people have changed ladies and gentlemen to friends and family. They're still overusing the same phrase, which is, I think, more of what Randy was talking about was, and I think really what he was talking about was being cognizant about what you're saying, even in the most casual situations, and again, I've said it off air. I use profanity like crazy. And my friend Andy Ebon said, you know what? You're just lazy. And I said to him, what does that mean? Or I probably said, what the F does that mean? And he said, if you can go and do a seminar and not drop the F-bomb, and if you can meet with clients and not drop the F-bomb, and if you won't do it on a microphone and you won't swear around your mother, then guess what? You're just being lazy when you're not around him. And he's right. And I need to be more cognizant about my language, but it is what it is, and so I think that we just become lazy, and ladies and gentlemen just happens to be one of those words that it's worked forever, so we do it, and that's all. Right.
Well, I think our times are just about up here.
So as well.
Hopefully we gave some ideas that some of you can utilize, and if you've got other ideas, please post it on this comment thread, because I don't claim to be the best at all of this all the time. I'm always willing to learn. And if you're doing some things that are in the hustle grind that seem to be working, please post so that the rest of us can kind of learn from you.
And if you want to send us 99 cents for tonight's video
episode,
you can make the check to Brian Bonacici.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll post his home address, and
if we were to get a sponsor before they did, what would that? Do you think Joe would would it be over? Like, I don't know.
Can we talk to Michael from Vibo?
Yeah.
Would it be? Is it a sponsor if Marquee sponsors our own podcast or our own thing? So, or we could get. There's this. I know. Be a great sponsor. there's these two guys that do a retreat thing like every March in Vegas. It's called PC DJ or Master DJ or DJ University. I don't know. I don't really pay attention.
Right.
They should advertise. You know, if they advertised, maybe people would know who they are.
There you go.
So anyhow, that's it. I got 9 o'clock on the nose for me, which is 10 o'clock for you. And,
right.
So for everybody that tuned in on Facebook, thank you so very much.
Share and like.
And, and we look
comment.
forward to having John back. Also, I'll say it again. I need your money. So go to marqueeshow.com. Best disc jockey conference that I think it's certainly my favorite. So please check it out. We'd love to see you. We've got some awesome things, and the momentum's there. We've completely sold out of our trade show booths. There's only 26, but we're sold out. Randy Bartlett's Microphone Technique Workshop is sold out. Alan Berg has half of his workshop sold out. And then totally new, never offered at a show before, is we've got Donnie Lewis doing one. He's going to do a complimentary part of your pass work seminar on cake mapping and projector mapping on Tuesday. But then Tuesday night, after the show's over, he's going to be doing a full workshop so you can really get your hands dirty and get in there and see, kind of like David Copperfield, how they do the magic behind the trick. So that's that. So get your passes, marqueeshow.com, because inevitably Brian's going to want me to buy him dinner while we're there. So if it's McDonald's, we didn't sell enough tickets, Brian. Sorry.
Right. It's all good. Subway it is.
Subway it is. All right, guys. Thanks, Brian. We will talk to you soon. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next Thursday. Good night.